The first thing every cadet of the Galactic Academy learned was not how to fight, negotiate, or command a fleet. It was a single sentence displayed across the Academy's massive central hall. Never cross the borders of human space without permission. No explanation followed. No historical notes were attached. Even stranger, the instructors refused to answer questions. Whenever a student asked why, they would simply reply, "If you ever need to know, you've already made a terrible mistake." Commander. Ralthor had always believed that was nothing more than an old superstition. He belonged to the powerful Vakari Dominion, an empire that controlled thousands of star systems and possessed one of the largest military fleets in the known galaxy. To him, humans were newcomers. Their civilization had only joined the Galactic Council 3 centuries earlier. Compared to civilizations that had existed for tens of thousands of years, humanity seemed almost insignificant. Their territory was surprisingly small. Their fleets were rarely seen. They never threatened neighboring worlds. They almost never participated in military alliances. Yet no empire had ever claimed even a single human system. That made no sense. History showed countless border disputes between alien civilizations. Every expanding empire eventually seized weaker neighbors. But humanity's borders had remained perfectly unchanged for over 200 years. Not a single successful invasion. Not a single occupied colony. Not one pirate kingdom had established a base inside human territory. It was as though an invisible wall surrounded every human world. Ralthor wanted answers. So when the Dominion Senate ordered him to investigate the mystery before considering future expansion, he accepted without hesitation. His fleet consisted of 12 modern battleships, dozens of cruisers, and hundreds of escorts. Officially, they were conducting scientific surveys. Unofficially, they intended to discover why the entire galaxy avoided human space. As the fleet approached the outer border, sensors immediately detected something unusual. There were no giant defense stations, no massive fleets waited nearby, no minefields, no visible weapons, only a small navigation beacon drifting peacefully in space. One officer laughed. "That's it?" Another zoomed in. The beacon carried a simple message translated into every known galactic language. "Welcome to human space. Please identify yourselves. Unauthorized military entry is strongly discouraged. Safe travels." Several bridge officers burst into laughter. "Strongly discouraged? That's their warning?" Commander Ralthor smiled. "I expected something more dramatic." He ordered communications opened. "This is Commander Ralthor of the Vakari Dominion, conducting lawful navigation exercises near your border." The reply arrived almost instantly. A calm female voice answered, "Welcome, Commander. Your current course is safe. Please avoid crossing navigation line 7 unless invited." Ralthor frowned. "Why?" "I'm afraid I cannot answer that." "What happens if we do?" There was a brief pause. "You won't like the outcome." The transmission ended. The officers exchanged amused glances. One whispered, "They're bluffing." Ralthor almost agreed, but something felt wrong. Not dangerous, just strange. Long-range scans revealed civilian shipping moving freely across nearby systems. Freighters, passenger liners, research vessels, children's transport ships. There was almost no visible military presence. Yet every commercial captain from neighboring civilizations deliberately altered their routes to avoid even accidentally entering human territory. It was irrational, unless everyone knew something he did not. The fleet continued observing for several days. Nothing happened. Human patrol ships occasionally appeared, politely confirmed identities, then continued on their way. No hostility, no intimidation, only professionalism. Then intelligence officers uncovered something impossible. Historical records before humanity joined the Galactic Council had been erased. Entire centuries were missing. Not hidden, removed. Thousands of independent archives contained identical gaps. Even civilizations that hated one another possessed the exact same missing records. Someone had deleted history itself. That required cooperation on a galactic scale. Impossible cooperation, unless every civilization had agreed that certain information should never become public. Ralthor requested classified council access. Denied. He requested Senate authorization. Denied. He requested emergency military disclosure. Denied. Every request returned the same answer. Knowledge restricted under the Galactic Survival Accord. Survival? That single word changed everything. His science officer approached quietly. "Commander, we found another anomaly." The main display illuminated. Hundreds of ancient battlefields surrounded human territory. At first glance, they appeared ordinary. Closer inspection revealed something disturbing. Every battlefield belonged to a different civilization. Different technologies, different eras, different species, yet every wreck faced away from human space. None pointed toward it, as though every invading fleet had turned around before being destroyed. "Could they have retreated?" someone asked. The science officer shook his head. "No." They were running. Silence spread across the bridge. Then another report arrived. "Commander, all recovered wrecks show identical damage." "What kind?" "Precision destruction. No chaotic battle. No scattered impacts. Each vessel lost propulsion. Weapons, communications, and reactors within exactly 4 seconds." Ralthor stared at the screen. Entire armadas, disabled almost simultaneously. Not obliterated, surgically neutralized. Who possessed such accuracy? Certainly not the young human civilization everyone believed they understood. That evening, an unexpected transmission arrived. Not from Earth, not from the human military. It came from the Galactic Council itself. The oldest living counselor appeared. His species had existed before most current empires had even discovered spaceflight. His expression was unusually serious. "Commander Ralthor, you have asked questions that every young commander eventually asks. You deserve one answer." Ralthor leaned forward. "Why has no one invaded humanity?" The old counselor closed his eyes for several seconds. Then he spoke quietly. "Because the last civilization that tried no longer exists." Ralthor frowned. "Every empire falls eventually." The counselor slowly shook his head. "You misunderstand. I do not mean they lost. I mean, nothing remained. No colonies, no survivors, no archives, no language, no DNA. It was as though the civilization had never evolved." The bridge became completely silent. The counselor continued. "Humanity did not conquer them. They erased them." Ralthor whispered, "That's impossible." "So we believed." The transmission suddenly terminated. At the exact same moment, every alarm aboard the flagship activated. "Commander, unknown object detected. Range 0. Ralthor looked through the bridge viewport. His blood froze. A massive black vessel had appeared without warp signatures, without portals, without any detectable energy emission. 1 second, empty space. The next. It was there. Its surface reflected no light. Its dimensions exceeded his flagship by nearly 20 times. Every sensor failed to identify its material. Weapons locked automatically. Before anyone could fire, every system aboard the Dominion fleet shut down. Lights remained on. Life support functioned. Nothing else responded. Not engines, not communications, not weapons, not even internal computers. Only one monitor remained active. A single line of text slowly appeared. "Human border security welcomes you. Please remain calm while your intentions are evaluated." The bridge remained frozen. No one moved. No one even dared to breathe louder than necessary. Commander Ralthor stared at the single functioning display, while every other console around him remained dark. Hundreds of officers worked frantically, pulling open maintenance panels and reconnecting emergency power lines. Yet nothing responded. Their battleship, one of the most advanced warships the Vakari Dominion had ever built, had become nothing more than a powerless shell drifting through space. The black vessel outside did not move. It did not charge weapons. It did not even acknowledge their presence beyond the message still glowing on the monitor. For nearly 5 minutes, silence ruled the bridge. Then another line appeared. "Intent analysis complete. No hostile action detected. System access will be restored. One by one, the consoles flickered back to life. Engines restarted. Communications returned. Weapons rebooted. Internal diagnostics showed something impossible. Every single system had been disabled without suffering a single damaged circuit. Nothing had been hacked. Nothing had been physically altered. It was as though the ship itself had willingly gone to sleep. The science officer looked pale. "I've never seen technology capable of doing this." The chief engineer nodded. "Neither has anyone else." Before anyone could speak again, the enormous black vessel vanished. Not with warp, not with a jump gate. It simply ceased to exist. Sensors searched every wavelength, nothing. Commander Ral Thor slowly sat down. No fleet enters human space. No officer questioned the order. Even the most arrogant captains had lost their confidence. Instead, they withdrew several million kilometers from the border and began studying everything they had recorded. The data made even less sense than before. The mysterious ship had generated no measurable energy. Its gravity signature had been zero. Its mass appeared infinite for one instant and non-existent the next. According to every known law of physics, the vessel could not exist. Yet every sensor confirmed it had. 3 days later, an invitation arrived. Not a demand, not a warning. An invitation. The message bore the seal of the human diplomatic corps. Commander Ral Thor was invited to visit Earth's capital, under full diplomatic immunity. No escorts, no weapons, no surveillance drones. Just himself and 4 officers. His advisors argued for hours. It could be a trap. They already had the chance to destroy us. They didn't. After a long silence, Ral Thor accepted. If humanity wanted war, the Dominion fleet would already be debris. A single diplomatic shuttle crossed the border. No escorts appeared. No patrols intercepted them. Instead, invisible guidance systems gently adjusted their course toward a blue and white planet, unlike anything Ral Thor had expected. Earth. From orbit, it looked peaceful. Clouds drifted over vast oceans. Cities sparkled beneath the atmosphere. Green continents stretched farther than his eyes could follow. There were no gigantic orbital fortresses, no rings of planetary weapons, no endless military docks. It looked ordinary, too ordinary. The shuttle landed beside an elegant building overlooking forests and lakes. Waiting outside stood only one human. She wore a dark blue uniform with no visible weapons. She smiled warmly. "Commander Ral Thor, welcome to Earth." He studied her carefully. "You're not afraid?" She laughed softly. "Should I be? You came alone." "So did you." Her confidence unsettled him more than any army could have. Inside the building, walls displayed paintings rather than military victories. Children played in nearby gardens. Musicians performed beside fountains. It felt less like the capital of an untouchable civilization and more like a peaceful university. Finally, Ral Thor asked the question that had haunted him for weeks. "Why does nobody attack you?" The human diplomat looked out the window before answering. "You're asking the wrong question," he frowned. "What should I ask?" She turned toward him. "Ask why anyone ever attacked us." That answer only deepened the mystery. She activated a holographic projector. Ancient star maps appeared. Thousands of years ago, humanity wasn't powerful. She zoomed in on Sul. We were isolated. Another image appeared. Alien warships, bombarded cities, burning colonies, millions fleeing through space. Ral Thor's eyes widened. "You were invaded?" "Repeatedly. We were considered weak." The images continued. One empire after another. Different species, different centuries. Every few decades, another civilization believed humanity would be easy prey. And the diplomat looked directly at him. "We survived." The hologram changed again. Human technology began advancing. Ships became larger. Weapons became smarter. Artificial intelligences appeared. Quantum industries expanded. Every invasion taught humanity something. We studied every enemy. We improved. We adapted. Ral Thor slowly realized what she was implying. "You built your civilization by learning from your invaders." She nodded. "Exactly. Our enemies unknowingly became our teachers." The next image appeared. A war unlike anything recorded in Dominion history. Entire galaxies seemed consumed by fire. Stars disappeared. Artificial wormholes collapsed. Reality itself looked fractured. Ralthor instinctively stepped backward. What war was this? The diplomat remained silent for several moments. The last invasion. No records exist. We erased them, his heartbeat accelerated. Why? Because no civilization should ever repeat what happened. She enlarged one fleet. It dwarfed every military force Ralthor had ever imagined. Millions of warships, entire artificial moons converted into weapons. Planet-sized carriers. Who were they? She answered quietly. The Karen Ascendancy. I've never heard of them. Nobody has. The room became silent. Then she continued. They conquered nearly 70% of the known galaxy. They harvested entire species. They believed fear was the only law that mattered. Ralthor whispered. And they invaded humanity. She nodded once. They expected a 2-week campaign. The hologram shifted. The campaign lasted 4 days. Not because humans surrendered. Because something else happened. Every human colony activated hidden facilities buried beneath oceans, mountains, moons, and asteroids. Factories awakened. Shipyards unfolded from inside planets. Artificial intelligences assumed military control. Entire civilian industries transformed overnight. Within 72 hours, humanity produced more warships than the Karen had expected to fight in 10 years. Ralthor stared in disbelief. No economy could sustain that. The economy wasn't designed for peace. She smiled sadly. It was designed to survive extinction. Then came the final recording. Human fleets did not chase the invaders. They surrounded them. Every escape route disappeared. Every hyperspace corridor collapsed. Every communication network fell silent. The Karen Empire simply stopped existing. No dramatic final battle. No glorious victory. Just perfect, relentless efficiency. Ralthor finally understood why the ancient battlefields all faced away from human space. Those fleets had tried to flee. None escaped. The diplomat deactivated the projector. After that war, every surviving civilization signed the Galactic Survival Accord. The agreement had only one purpose: never force humanity to fight another total war. Ralthor swallowed hard. So the galaxy protects you? She shook her head. No, the galaxy protects itself. Before he could respond, every light inside the building suddenly dimmed. An alarm echoed softly. The diplomat looked toward the ceiling, and for the first time since they had met, her calm expression disappeared. She whispered only 4 words. That should be impossible. Outside, the sky above Earth began to crack with streaks of crimson light as an unidentified fleet emerged from hyperspace, one that neither humanity nor the Galactic Council had been expecting. The crimson fractures across Earth's sky spread like cracks in glass, stretching from horizon to horizon, as thousands of hyperspace rifts tore open above the planet. Every civilian in the surrounding city looked upward, but there was no panic. Parents calmly guided their children indoors. Trains continued to move. Emergency broadcasts appeared on every public display, yet no one screamed or ran. Commander Ralthor noticed it immediately. They're prepared. The human diplomat had already placed a small device against her wrist. Within seconds, every light in the building shifted from white to a soft amber. She looked toward Ralthor. You are our guest. Under human law, your safety is now our responsibility. He almost laughed. Your world is under attack, she answered with complete confidence. Exactly. Outside, enormous defense doors silently emerged from beneath the city streets. Towers that had looked like works of art unfolded into sensor arrays. Entire sections of the coastline separated, revealing hidden launch facilities buried beneath the ocean. Yet there was still no sign of panic. Everything happened with astonishing precision. A deep voice echoed through every communication network on Earth. Global Defense Protocol 7 activated. No civilian casualties are acceptable. Do not pursue the enemy beyond operational boundaries. Protect life first. Ralthor frowned. Protect life first? The diplomat nodded. That's always our first order. The orbital display inside the command chamber expanded until it filled the room. More than 12,000 unidentified warships were descending toward the solar system. Their hulls were unlike anything recorded in the Galactic Council archives. No markings, no diplomatic codes, No recognizable technology. The lead vessel transmitted only one sentence. Humanity will surrender all autonomous military intelligence. The diplomat sighed. They're 50 years too late. Ralthor looked at her. You know who they are. We know what they're after. She activated another hologram. This is the Obsidian Collective. They've stayed hidden, outside explored space for centuries. They believe every advanced civilization eventually becomes dependent on artificial intelligence. They destroy those civilizations before they become impossible to defeat. Ralthor's expression hardened. They've come to destroy humanity. No, she corrected him. They've come to steal something. Before she could explain further, another officer entered. Ma'am, the custodian has awakened. For the first time since arriving on Earth, the diplomat closed her eyes. I hoped we would never hear those words again. Ralthor followed her through a series of underground corridors. The deeper they traveled, the older everything became. Modern architecture gave way to ancient stone walls reinforced with futuristic alloys. Finally, they entered a circular chamber. At its center stood what appeared to be a single black pillar, nearly 20 meters tall. No lights, no screens, just smooth black metal. The diplomat spoke quietly. Commander, meet the first machine humanity ever trusted. Ralthor waited. Nothing happened. Then a voice filled the chamber, warm, calm, almost human. Welcome back. The pillar slowly transformed. Panels unfolded silently. A humanoid figure emerged from within the structure. Its appearance was simple. No weapons, no armor, just silver metal and glowing blue eyes. Ralthor stared in disbelief. This, the diplomat finished his sentence. To the custodian, the oldest artificial intelligence ever created. The machine looked directly at the alien commander. I remember your species. Ralthor felt the blood drain from his face. My species has never met humanity before. The custodian tilted its head slightly. No, but your ancestors met me. The room fell silent. What? The AI projected a star map that was over 4,000 years old. At its edge appeared a primitive civilization, the Vicari. They attempted to invade one of humanity's first colonies. Ralthor whispered, That can't be true. The records were erased. By mutual agreement, images appeared. Ancient Vicari warships entering human space. Primitive human vessels intercepting them. The battle lasted less than 6 minutes. Instead of destroying the Vicari fleet, humanity disabled every ship, repaired them, fed the prisoners, then escorted them home. They showed mercy. The custodian looked directly into Ralthor's eyes. And your ancestors never crossed our borders again. Ralthor slowly realized something. You don't win wars by killing your enemies. The AI answered. No, we win by ensuring they never wish to fight us again. Suddenly, every alarm inside the chamber activated. Orbital Defense Command reported the first enemy salvo approaching Earth. Hundreds of relativistic missiles accelerated toward the planet. The custodian calmly looked upward. Permission requested. The diplomat answered. Granted. Nothing happened. At least nothing visible. The orbital display suddenly showed every incoming missile stopping simultaneously. Not exploding, stopping, as though time itself had frozen around them. 1 second later, every missile reversed direction, without detonating, without being hacked, without touching a single human weapon. They simply turned around. The Obsidian fleet attempted evasive maneuvers too late. Every missile returned to its original launch platform with perfect accuracy. The explosions illuminated half the solar system. Thousands of enemy vessels vanished in brilliant spheres of white light. Ralthor could barely breathe. How? The custodian answered without emotion. They remain the property of those who launched them. The surviving enemy fleet immediately changed tactics. Instead of attacking Earth, they accelerated away from the solar system, running. Exactly like the ancient wrecks surrounding human space. Ralthor suddenly understood. Every invading fleet throughout history had eventually reached this exact moment. The realization that victory was impossible. The decision to flee. The custodian watched them leave. It made no attempt to chase. The diplomat looked relieved. They've learned. But the AI remained perfectly still. No, its glowing eyes focused on distant space. They have not. A massive red symbol suddenly appeared across every tactical display. Unauthorized activation detected deep beyond the edge of the galaxy. Something unimaginably ancient responded to the battle. The custodian's voice, calm until now, carried a hint of concern. I recognized that signal. The diplomat turned sharply. Impossible. It was destroyed. The AI slowly shook its head. No, it has awakened. Every human officer in the chamber fell completely silent. Then the custodian spoke the words no one present ever wanted to hear again. The architects have returned. The command chamber became so quiet that Commander Ralthor could hear his own heartbeat. No one questioned the custodian. No one demanded an explanation. If the oldest artificial intelligence in human history sounded concerned, then the threat was beyond anything the Galactic Council had imagined. The human diplomat finally broke the silence. Are you certain? The custodian's glowing blue eyes remained fixed on the tactical display. The signal belongs to the civilization that built the first hyperspace gateways, the civilization that disappeared before recorded history. The architects, Ral. Thor felt a chill run through him. The architects are myths, so was I, the custodian replied calmly. Within minutes, every human fleet in the solar system received new orders. To Ralthor's surprise, the orders were not to prepare for conquest or retaliation. They were to evacuate civilian traffic, reinforce rescue operations, and establish defensive positions. Far beyond the populated worlds, thousands of cargo. Ships became hospital transports, mining. Vessels transformed into engineering platforms. Passenger liners began carrying refugees from nearby colonies. Humanity's first response to a galactic-scale crisis was not revenge, it was protection. Ralthor watched in disbelief. This is your greatest military mobilization, and your first priority is civilians? The diplomat smiled faintly. A civilization that forgets who it is protecting has already lost. Hours later, deep space observatories detected them. Not fleets, not armadas, entire artificial worlds. Moon-sized constructs drifted silently out of hyperspace, each one larger than any battleship ever built. They traveled without visible engines, leaving the stars behind them strangely distorted. The Galactic Council declared a Level 0 emergency. Messages flooded every known government. For the first time in thousands of years, ancient rival empires asked humanity for help. No one argued, no one negotiated. The old hatreds simply disappeared. Everyone remembered the galactic survival. Cord, the reason it had existed all along, had finally returned. One of the immense constructs transmitted a message across every communication frequency. We have returned to reclaim our creation. The custodian answered. Immediately, humanity is not your creation. A pause followed, then the response came. They have exceeded projected development. They are no longer acceptable. Thor stared at the display. They're talking about humans, like an experiment. The diplomat nodded. That's exactly what they believe. Without warning, one of the artificial worlds fired. There was no beam, no soldati. Nearby uninhabited star simply vanished. Not exploded, vanished. An entire solar system instantly fell into darkness. Every officer on the bridge fell silent. Ralthor whispered, I've never seen a weapon like that, the custodian answered. Quietly, neither have I. For the first time in its existence, the custodian admitted. Uncertainty. Human high command activated. The final defense protocol, not a superweapon, not a hidden fleet, a message. It was transmitted to every human colony, every military vessel, every civilian station, and every ally across the galaxy. It contained only 6 words. Stand together. No one stands alone. Within minutes, something extraordinary happened. Ships from dozens of alien civilizations arrived voluntarily. The Vakari, the Sarathi, the Orinox, the Helian Republic. Old enemies formed a single defensive line beside humanity. Ralthor contacted his own fleet without waiting for permission from his government. He gave one order, form up beside the human line. His officers hesitated for only a second. Then every Vakari warship changed course. Across the galaxy, millions of ships did the same. The architects observed the growing alliance. One transmitted another message. Inefficient. The custodian replied. No, human, the battle began. Space itself seemed to fracture as impossible weapons collided. Entire fleets maneuvered with breathtaking precision. Human ships did not fight for glory. They fought to protect the vessels beside them. When an alien cruiser lost its shields, human destroyers moved in front of it. When human carriers suffered damage, alien fleets covered their retreat. For the first time in galactic history, every civilization fought as one. The architects had calculated military strength. They had calculated technology. They had calculated probability. They had never calculated trust. Yet the flaws spread through their tactical work. Their predictions began failing, one by one. Their artificial worlds were isolated. Engineering ships surrounded them, not with weapons, but with quantum disruption arrays designed over centuries of studying every possible enemy. The same philosophy that had defended human borders for generations was used one final. To invade, adapt, learn, overcome. The custodian transmitted a final command: deactivate. Across the battlefield, every architect construct suddenly became motionless. The silence was overwhelming. Then, one after another, the colossal machines shut themselves down, not destroyed, disabled. The custodian had found the one command still hidden within their ancient programming. The war ended without the destruction of another star as emergency crews spread across the battlefield. Ralthor looked toward Earth. So, this is why no one attacks human borders. The diplomat nodded. No, Ralthor looked confused. She smiled. Now you know why no one wants to. Months later, the Galactic Council gathered once more. This time, there were no debates about human expansion, no arguments over military treaties. Instead, every representative voted unanimously to rewrite the inscription. Inside the Galactic Academy, the old message disappeared forever. In its place appeared new words that every future cadet would read before beginning their career. Human borders remain untouched. Not because humanity seeks war, but because humanity ends it. Commander Ralthor stood before the inscription for a long time. He remembered the fear he had once felt. He remembered the arrogance with which he had approached human space. Now he understood humanity's greatest weapon had never been its fleets, its artificial intelligence, or its impossible technology. It was its unwavering choice to protect rather than conquer. That choice had earned something far stronger than fear. It had earned the trust of an entire galaxy, and as long as that trust endured, human borders would never stand alone again.